So let's get down to the basics. How do you tell a good story? I mean, wouldn't it be great if you had the formula for it, you had the guidelines, it was no longer mysterious or mystical, that somehow you had the secret sauce? Well, you do have the secret sauce, and you already know how to tell a good story. You have been telling stories your entire life. It is what psychologists call an unconscious competency, like riding a bicycle or complaining. You do it all the time with your friends, over coffee, over dinner, in the hallway, in a parking lot, at a meeting. You are a storyteller, but you don't have an identity as a storyteller. And because you don't, sometimes you think falsely that you don't know how to tell a story, but you do. Even though you do, I'm going to take just a few minutes to clarify what the key elements are of what makes a good story. More of that in the book. This is an introduction or an excerpt of that. The first thing, the most important thing, is to understand your message. In other words, what is my purpose? Why would I open my mouth? Why would I take a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes to tell a narrative, to tell a story? What feeling do I want to leave my listeners with? What do I want to impart to them? What do I hope they experience as a result of me telling the story? So that's the first thing. When you know your purpose, the rest becomes easy. The second thing to consider is, what is the actual structure of a story? What are its components? We know the spine is made of vertebrae. We know a day is composed of morning, midday, and night. What are the structures? What are the elements of a story? Well, there are 5. Here we go. The first element is a character. That is the hero or the heroine, the protagonist, the person who is going on a journey. It could be you, if it's a personal story, or it could be someone else, like earlier in this series of videos I talked about Tevyev. He was the hero of the story. So your character or your hero needs to be relatable. It needs to be somebody that the listener or the reader can relate to. Okay, that's number 1. They have to have some personality. Number 2, there needs to be a setting. All stories take place somewhere. So the clearer you are about your setting, and all you need are a few details, is to park your story in time and place. That gives the listener to the story, or the reader of your story, the imagination of where that story is happening. In effect, you are creating a movie in the mind of your listener. That's what Hollywood does. They create movies. They give you something to imagine, and they give you visuals on the screen. You don't have a screen as a storyteller, but you do have a screen as a storyteller, because your details and the images that you embed in your story create a movie in the mind of the listener. So first, the character, or the hero or heroine. Second, the setting. The third is a plot. Something happens. A, then B, then C. There is a progression, a logical sequence of events that moves through time and space. The hero is going from this point to that point, and everything in between. So there needs to be a plot. The fourth element of a good story is something that is all too often missed by amateur storytellers, and that is the description of, the amplification of, the obstacle. What is in the way? What is the demon, the monster, the obstacle, the constraint? All fairy tales, and we grew up on fairy tales, have an obstacle, a monster, a boogeyman, the big bad wolf, the evil stepsisters, the sirens in the way of Perseus on his hero's journey. So if you have a story to tell, be conscious of and be willing to actually give some space to air out and express what the actual obstacle is that the hero has to overcome. And the fifth and last element of the story is the resolution, the outcome. What happens? Sometimes called the happy ending, sometimes it might be an unhappy ending, but there's some kind of resolution. That's the purpose of the story. You or your hero is going on a journey, a hero's quest or a heroine's quest, to accomplish a goal and get past an obstacle in order to have some kind of meaningful outcome. What is that outcome? If you're aware of all 5 of those elements, the character, the setting, the plot, the obstacle, and the resolution or the outcome, you've got the 5 main elements of a story, and the rest is just going to require some practice.